Relax. You gotta just chill out, man.
Pittsburgh Steeler fans, welcome back to another episode of the Scho Bro Show. This is Steel Curtain Network editor Dave Schofield coming at you Tuesday night, well after 9 p.m. Don't worry, I'll explain that a little bit. But hey, Steelers fans, where else would you rather be during this part of the offseason? But hey, here talking Steelers, because with me let me get this right. With me, as always, except when he's not, is my big brother Rich. There, I got it out there. Big Bro Scho, how's it going tonight?
Welcome to the big show. Well, it's the big show.
Yeah. Hey, be careful. All right, well, I guess because your own rendition, we're not going to get knocked for copyright for using someone else's music. So, hey, I'm really sorry that we're late. I will tell you, I'm flustered right now. It's just been an off day, but this one was on me. But it was for a good reason. And that is, I'm going to start off the show having to give a very special shout out. I'm giving a shout out to my oldest son, who turned 14 today. And actually, about 10 minutes ago is whenever it's actually his birthday, because he was born at 9/14 when he was born. But he's 14 years old today. Love you, Gabriel. I'm so glad to see you grow up. And today, he had some friends over. I was needing to take them home, and I told the parents, don't worry, I'll get them home. Won't be too late because I got a podcast at 9:00. Well, I didn't check traffic, but when I went to drive them home, and I got caught on the interstate in road construction for more than 15 minutes, which then just got me flustered trying to get home and get everything set up. So that's why we're a little bit late tonight, but I just once again want to say happy birthday to my son, and I'm hoping this week we could even go golfing again. So they call him Low Scho. Kathy says, happy birthday to Low Scho. I love it. So, Rich, how's it going?
It's going. That's a loaded question.
Well, we've hit that stage.
Are you asking me how it's going, in Steeler land? Or are you asking me how it's going,
Well, I would
in general,
in general is always nice to know, but kind of Steelers land, because we're 3 minutes into our podcast. We should be talking about Steelers by this time, since I'm the one who took all that time to do the little shout out, and I have this massive sugar rush from cake, ice cream, and of course massive amounts of icing on the cake, which my wife does a phenomenal job making. So if I crash during the show, you'll know exactly why.
Well, Dave, let me tell you how I'm doing right now. Then my Achilles hurts.
I was going to say we were going to talk about news. Sorry if I leaned away from the mic. I forgot to plug my computer in before we got started. That's how late I'm running, just to make sure don't want to cut off in the middle of the show. But yes, I was going to say there's some news out there. There's rumors of the Steelers making inquiries about all kinds of almost anybody that's available. And you know what I say to that? Good. They should be looking into anybody who's potentially available, right?
Yeah.
So now they're back on, that there was the report of the tight end Jonnu Smith, and it seemed like, that's not going to work. Then it seemed like, the Steelers were back at that today. And part of that was because of the news that Darnold Parham, I think it's Parham and not Parham. I wasn't exactly sure. Never figured out how to properly pronounce his name. The reports are that he tore his Achilles in practice today and is out for the 2025 season.
Yeah, they already on the ESPN depth chart. They already have him listed as with an O.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though. I don't want to be rude or anything of that nature. Did you think he was making the 53-man roster?
Um, I don't know. Possibly.
Yeah. He had a shot.
He had the talent to do it, but now you see probably one of the reasons he was out there and available on the side anyway. So we'll
See, so to me, this is more about you're going to need to replace a body, but he was signed as with, I mean, how do I say it? He wasn't given a futures contract, if you know what I mean. Um, but he could just sign with the Steelers and before the league year started because he wasn't even on a practice squad at the end of last year. He wasn't on anybody's roster or practice squad. So he was available. So yeah, he had done some things in the past, and yeah, it was possible that he could be a death piece, but I don't think that doesn't like set off any of the Steelers' plans for the year. In my eyes, I didn't think so. But so now people are like, oh, they're going to react and go get Jonnu Smith. I mean, they're not even on the same. They're nowhere close to the same level. When you're looking at that, Jonnu Smith would be a significant piece for the Steelers to add because they lost someone who was questionable to make the roster, and if nothing else, would end up on the practice squad. So,
look, I thought Parham was interesting. He is that Jimmy Graham type of tight end.
mm-hmm.
He's 6'8", 237.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
he's not.
the measurables
He's not.
are there.
He's not as heavy as he is tall, but he is heavier than a wide receiver. So I found that part of potentially what he would potentially bring as a weapon interesting. But again, I'm like you. I don't think the Steelers were banking, their entire season on this guy.
Yeah, I mean, so let me just explain who Donald Parham is. In 2019, he signed after not being drafted with the Detroit Lions, and then was cut like very soon after that. Then signed with Washington, spent training camp there, didn't make the team. It was a week and a half later, actually it was 2 weeks later, they signed him to the practice squad. So, I mean, that was already after the first game of the season. Then he got signed by the Chargers in the offseason. Like, he was on the practice squad with Washington, but it looks like he didn't even, I don't know if he stuck with them how long. He definitely didn't have even a futures contract or whatever at the end of everything, at the end of the season. And then he landed in Los Angeles, like just before the draft in 2020. So then he was, coming off, being elevated off the practice squad. That was remember the weird COVID season when you had the bigger practice squad and all that other stuff. He was one of those players. So in 2020, then he got signed to the roster. He appeared in 13 games. 13 games, 5 starts, 10 receptions, 159 yards. Okay? If I'm looking at everything right. 3 touchdowns. That was the key. 2021, 3 touchdowns. 2022, a touchdown. Only played in 6 games. I think he was hurt for part of the season. And in 2023, 4 touchdowns on 27 receptions. So he was that guy they looked for in the red zone. 41 targets is what he had in 2023, which was the most by far. But then after 2023, and he with the Chargers, he didn't make the team in 2024. And then he signed with the Broncos practice squad but I don't. But then I don't even know when he was released from the practice squad, or whatever. But then he didn't sign with the Steelers until February. So he has 4 solid years with the Chargers. But then last year was kind of an enigma. He was just on the practice squad or not doing anything. So maybe there was something for him. Maybe there wasn't. But that's who he was. But we're going to talk about him a little bit now and to kind of see what the Steelers were missing. Like I said, I didn't have him on my 53-man roster prediction to start. But if he's someone that started showing out in camp, then all of a sudden you're like, oh, you got to pay attention to this guy. Unfortunately, he never even made it to training camp, which is unfortunate. So that's the biggest Steelers news. Anything else you want to say about that whole situation or anything about the possibility of Jonnu Smith or anything?
Nah, no reason to talk about Johnny Smith unless something comes about.
Unless something happens. Yep. You never know. Something could happen during the show. Like when we said, oh, that can't be right that they're trading George Pickens, and here it was. Other than that, it's just minicamps rolling along. Not minicamp. Phase 3 of OTAs, which technically some people call it minicamp. It's just not the mandatory part of minicamp. But to not get confused by the terminology, we should call it, phase 3 of OTAs. They're rolling along. Anything jumping out at you now that we're a week later after we had the first one last week?
Not really.
Okay.
I will be honest, I haven't had a ton of time to delve into it.
Mm-hmm.
But one of those that sometimes, not a ton of news, nothing out there to super grab you is good because, other than today, it's nice to see, no injuries.
Yeah. That was the thing. This was the first time we've heard anything about injuries. The news has more been about players who are coming off of injuries from last year being able to participate. And then you get this one today. So it is a bummer. It really is. Anytime anyone goes down. So, but hey, the Steelers, this is what they did this year. I was wondering about this. They did their team building day yesterday, so they didn't do it on an official OTA day. Normally they would take one of the 10 and do it, but since they only scheduled 6, they did it on a Monday when they weren't scheduled to actually practice or anything. They went to Kennywood, and as I said, to me that's still sacrilege because anybody who grew up in the 80s or 90s and saw in the greater Pittsburgh area and saw all the Kennywood commercials, what did it always say on the bottom?
Closed Mondays.
Closed Mondays. That Kennywood was not open on Mondays. And I'm like, so much so I had to say, oh, did they just bring the Steelers in special? No, they didn't. They're open every day now. So I don't know when they started that. It's probably been a long time, but and I probably even had the same bummer of that thing before. So, but it was good to see some of those fun things going on with them getting to there. Other than that, business as usual on the field. One last question before we dive into our topic. Do you feel?
I know what happened to his Achilles.
Uh-oh.
Oh man.
Uh-oh.
He went over to Noah's Ark,
Oh.
walk into Wales math, but he had issues with the Achilles walking on them shaky boards.
On the shaking floors. Yep. Probably not the back and probably not the side to side one, but man, that up and down one, that could really get you.
Yeah.
So yeah. Not that we want to joke about someone's injury. That's unfortunate, but that's a great Kennywood reference. Now where was I going? I had something I was saying. Oh, this was my question. Do you think there is more of an emphasis on next week than last week and this week together? The mandatory part of minicamp. Do you really, other than people being there, is there really anything different in your mind?
Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the difference will be, if you're taking it on a level of 1 to 10, it's like moving from 6 to 7.
Yeah.
That will be the difference. One notch.
Yeah.
Not not a whole bunch.
Because honestly, they're like, well, it is mandatory, but that still doesn't mean that they don't give players the time off. Like, do you think they're going to make Cam, or do you think they might say to Cam Hayward, let's sit this one out? Just because it's mandatory just means that there are repercussions if you don't show up without permission. That's really it. So we'll see if other people are there. We know that there's some uncertainty even still with the quarterback position, which I find interesting that the Steelers did clear a roster spot off at the end of last week that they haven't refilled yet, that they've announced. So that'll be interesting. So Rich, ready to dive into this topic?
Yeah, hold on though. I wanted to bring up Jared Devil said they need a trip to Dave and Buster's.
That's what they had used. That's what they had done for a while, right?
Did they do that, or I thought one time they went down to Top Golf? See, there's a Top Golf nearby. Top there is a Dave and Buster's actually. Just
since I started covering the Steelers in 2018, in 2018 that wasn't even the offseason, so it would have been the 2019 offseason. I know that they've done Dave and Buster's twice, but I also think they chose to do it on days that they knew the weather was bad and they didn't want to be out on the field, and they went to Dave and Buster's.
Yeah. See, there's a Dave & Buster's up near Homestead, up the Mon. And then the Top Golf is, I want to say it's just off, it's down on 79. Shoot. I can't remember exactly where.
Just look for the big nets.
I can picture it driving right by it. There's a Carvana right near it too, So, So there are things they could do. I actually think it's cool they went to Kennywood. That used to be a big thing here and there. That used to be one of the things Steelers were super involved with Kennywood when we were kids.
Yeah.
So
like doing commercials and everything.
Yeah. Jack Lambert riding with Raging Rapids
with Myron
Cope. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. So, you grew up as a kid out around Pittsburgh. If you could sing the jingle from the commercial.
Which jingle? Which commercial?
Oh, the Fall in Love down at Kennywood Park.
Okay, the Palisades Park one.
Yeah.
Oh, yep, that's hilarious because I was just singing that probably a week ago.
All right, Jeff's going to give me a hard time if we don't actually get to our topic here. Although we've been covering the news pretty good.
Yes, we have.
The news pretty good. So you know what? Actually, we're not going to get to the topic. You know what we're going to do? We are going to take an early break, so we don't have to break in the middle of it. That's what we're going to do. So when we come back, we are going to talk about this kicks it off. This is this part of the off season. It is now top 5 season on the Scho Bro Show. This is what we'll do pretty much up till training camp. When we do them every year, we have one this year that we have not done before that we're doing tonight. And that is we are looking at new members of the Steelers and who we think is going to have the most impact this season. So that's what we're going to list. We're going to give our top 5 as we go with that. So stick around. We'll dive into that right after these messages.
Relax, don't worry, no rush, what's the hurry? Relax, don't worry, don't worry, relax, don't worry, no rush, what's the hurry? Relax, don't worry, don't worry, relax.
All right, big bro, we've got to relax. Don't worry, because we're diving into the topic now. So I said it before the break. I'm going to reiterate it here. We're looking at players that are new to the Steelers for this year, who we think is going to have the most impact in 2025. They could be acquired by the Steelers via the draft, via free agency, via trade. However they got here, this is new players of the Steelers, biggest impact. So let's roll with it. Rich, you ready to start with number 5, counting them down?
Sure. Okay, so number 5. Dave and I started to talk a little bit ahead of time, and I said to Dave, what about the fact that there could be guys still coming that and he's like, no, we got to go with what's there. Okay, so in true Dave fashion, with number 5, I'm giving a number 5. Okay. I'm going to tell you who they are, and then I'm going to tell you why I have them as number 5. All right. So my number 5 are Robert Woods
Okay.
and Mason Rudolph. I have them at number 5, both of them at 5, because I look at the two of them and think that they are two of the people most likely that are currently listed as 1 on the depth chart that may not be 1 on the depth chart
Yeah.
by the time the season rolls around. But
You mean
if
when you
either-
say 1 at the depth chart or wide receiver, that's looking at 3 of them.
3,
being listed.
yes.
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 Meaning the top spot of the 3 that get listed.
Yes.
Okay, just to clarify, I thought that's
Yes,
what you meant.
because they have Metcalf,
Mm-hmm.
Woods, and Austin listed as the 3 wide receivers. So I look at it though that if either of these 2 guys stay in that position, they are likely to have a pretty significant impact on the Steelers.
The
for
biggest
2025.
reason that you have them at 5, let me guess, is because the uncertainty that they're even staying at that position.
Bingo.
That if they end up being there, then they would even be potentially higher than 5, right?
Yes, but I can't justify putting them higher than 5 now because in the back of your mind you think, well, they may not be in that position in, I don't know, a week, 2 weeks.
You know what?
2 months.
Yeah.
They could be there at the end of next season.
You know,
You
September
don't know.
6th. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
It's you just
Yeah.
unknowns. So have to
Trust
take
me.
that unknown part into account in some way. So
Yeah, that is a really good way to look at it. That really is. I'll be honest, I let them off my list completely because of the uncertainty. But the way you covered it, I am so glad you covered it in that regard. That's why I said that I wasn't going to have a quarterback of mine because we don't know what's going on at quarterback. And if that was, and I wanted to know if we needed to talk about it before we started the list or as we went into the list. And you're like, let's just do the list. I'm like, okay. So that's really good for both of those players to say that they could make a big impact this year, but they could also be jumped on the depth chart by somebody else that's not with the team. Or honestly, it could even be someone else. Like even with Woods, it could even be someone else with the team. You know, if it's
Correct.
someone like
Yes.
Roman Wilson or something like that. So that's where they are right now. They could be that impact, but a lot of things could change. I like that you went in that regard with number 5. Now I'm going to give you my number 5. Okay. Number 4 and number 5, I was really torn on which order to put with these 2. So they're really, really close. But for number 5, I went with 3rd round draft pick Caleb Johnson. And the reason that I haven't further down the list, because I don't think he's going to be the guy to start the season. But he's still going to make an impact with the team, not being the guy. So much so that if he makes enough of an impact, he could become the guy as the season goes on. So right now where he sits, he's going to have an opportunity to increase his impact while still giving a decent impact as a new player to the team this year. And that's why I put him at number 5.
good call.
Okay.
Number 4.
Yeah.
3rd round draft pick running back Caleb Johnson. And for some of the same reasons.
Yeah.
I look at it right now, Dave. I would imagine if he comes in, if he has a good training camp, I could see him starting the season playing 30% of the snaps.
And that's if he has a good game. They are not
Yes.
going to rush him out there. He
No.
is not getting the Najee Harris treatment. He is. They're not going to do it because
Actually, let me put it
outside
this
of
way.
injuries, outside of other injuries to people, they're not going to do
Right.
it.
Let me put it this way. He's going to get more than 20% of the snaps
Yes.
to start the season and not more than 30%. Like he's going to be in that
Yeah.
20 to 30 range. Now, by the end of the season,
Who
as
knows?
it goes on, who knows where it could be. It wouldn't surprise me if it was up to 40% or more.
Do you want to know? Yeah. Well, you say or more. I wouldn't be shocked if by the end of the season, assuming everyone's healthy. This is just assuming everyone's healthy. If someone gets injured, that changes everything. That's just what it does. I would not be shocked if at the end of the season he could even be up to 65%. That would not blow my mind.
Right.
That would just go to show that that's what they were ready to do. I'm not saying he has to. I'm not saying he's going to. I'm just saying if he came on that much, that still would not surprise me, because I think he's a nice fit with what the Steelers are wanting to do. So there we go. I have a feeling my number 4 is probably who you don't have on your list.
But I bet you it's somebody I considered for my
Okay.
list.
Because it's interesting, because it's a free agent acquisition, but not someone that I would call a starter. But it's someone who's going to impact certain things and certain packages in a way that is allowing the Steelers to upgrade, I'll go ahead and say it, their 3 safety package. I'm going with Juan Thornhill. Because what the Steelers did.
Oh, I did not. I had a list of, I don't know, 10, 11 guys.
Yeah.
I did not have him on that list.
Well, and here's the thing with Juan Thornhill. He was the number 2 safety for the Browns last year. And it's so funny because someone had said in our Slack channel whenever KZ signed with the Browns, they're like, oh, looks like the Steelers and Browns just swapped number 3 safeties. I'm like, nope, we got their number 2 and they got our number 3. And when he was in KC, Juan Thornhill was really playing well. So the fact that, you know, you've got Minkah Fitzpatrick, you've got Deshaun Elliott, you add him into that mix, I'm pretty excited about what they can do. I think he's going to play significant snaps, and I think he's going to impact things more than what KZ did. And that's why I put him slightly ahead. I couldn't decide between him and Caleb Johnson, who was 4 and who was 5. And that's just, I just picked one. So I had them about equal, but I just thought with Thornhill, you at least know right now what his role is. You know his role now, and it's likely not going to change. That's why I put him at 4. You know, he's that 3rd safety, and they're going to use 3 safeties because they like to do it. So that's why I went with him at number 4. So I would not be shocked if we have the same 3, just not in the same order remaining, but that might be wrong. But just to recap real quick, for me, I had Caleb Johnson 5, Juan Thornhill 4. You had Robert Woods / Mason Rudolph at 5, because for good reasons, and Caleb Johnson 4. Who'd you have at 3?
At number 3, I have cornerback Darius Slay.
Cornerback Darius Slay. Why'd you put him there?
Well, first of all, I still think he's got plenty of game left. I believe he is a bit of an upgrade for us there. I really like the veteran presence. I think some of these young guys can learn a lot from him. And I don't know. I just like the fact that now that when teams don't want to throw at Joey Porter Jr., they got to throw at Darius Slay.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think people are sleeping on the acquisition of Slay a lot. Like I was reminding, you know, our one commenter at the website, steelcrewnetwork.com. Make sure you check that out. But there's someone, he is very on. He never misses it. He always starts every comment with the same tagline. Kind of drags me nuts because I'm saying, because you know me, it drives me crazy if people who think that they say, well, I've been a fan since blah, 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 that means more. To me, it means a lot, but what means more is the good takes that you have coming out of your mouth more than the amount of time you've been a fan. That's just me. But anyway, because he said something with the one article that I had of players that aren't in the top 51 salaries that are either likely to or very possibly could make the 53-man roster. And the top player there, because he's just out of the top 51, was Corey Trice. And he's saying, Corey Trice needs to be the other starter this year. I'm like, do people forget about Darius Slay? Did they just forget that the Steelers, because they only signed him for 1 year, that they just forget that he's there and what he's supposed to, what they expect him to do. I mean, he was pretty good last year. He really was. I'm trying to find if I can even figure out. I was trying to find his rank, but I'll get it eventually. I'll talk more about Darius Slay later. I'll just say that. Okay. You ready? You ready for mine? Do you have anything else you want to say about him, or do you want to save it for maybe a later discussion?
No, I'll wait and see.
My number 3 is. I wouldn't be shocked if this is your number 2. First round draft pick, Derek Harmon. I think he's going to have a big impact on that defensive line. That's exactly why they drafted him in the first round at this time. Cam Hayward at the end of his career, they really needed someone. They needed an upgrade from Larry Ogunjobi. He's going to have every opportunity as a rookie to grab a hold of a lot of playing time. And he has the potential to make a huge impact on this defense. Even if all he's doing is giving quality snaps when he's out there rather than outstanding snaps, that's still a really good contribution for him in his first year for the defensive line. So that's why I have him as number 3.
Good choice for number 3.
Okay.
All right, before I go on to my number 2, I have to bring this up.
Okay.
Brian Brown says, I bet if Jeff would grow a stash like Mason's, the Steelers would play better. So, Jeff Hartman, Jefferson Bartholomew Hartman, get on that.
Yeah. So, and just so you know, last year, if you look at, I'll get to it. I finally found the number that I was looking for, but don't worry about it. I'll get to it later. So, anything else you want to say about, to me, I'm just excited to see what Derek Harmon can bring and everything. I'll let you say more about him whenever you're ready. Does that sound good?
Yes.
Okay.
Number 2.
Yep.
First round draft pick, Derek Harmon.
Almost. I can almost.
Do you know why? Yeah, you want to know why I put him at number 2? Okay. So when I'm looking,
because he's still a rookie. You can't guarantee how he's going to play, but still.
Right. But I'm sorry. When I was looking at the depth chart, and they're showing it in the Steelers base 3-4.
Yeah.
And you see it say Harmon, Benton, Hayward. That just excited me.
It is exciting. It is. It really is.
Now, and then I thought of it like this. So remember when Benton was a rookie, right? And we loved him as a rookie because he just came in and was a disruptor, right? Mm-hmm. And then you think, wow, and the Steelers thought of this guy, they drafted him higher than they drafted Benton. It's like, yeah, this has the potential to be really, really good.
Yes.
And I think what Harmon's going to help do is, we've been looking to get that front totally solidified, honestly, since Tuitt retired.
Yeah.
And I don't feel that we've gotten it back to what it was. I mean, I'm thinking back when it was, Tuitt, Hayward, and Gravedigger, Hargrave, when it was the 3, and we've not been back to anything close to that. And I think that the drafting of Derek Harmon in the first round, but brings the Steelers back much closer to what that line was than it's been in a long time.
I agree. I'm also not going to put the pressure on them to be that line because, man, people that were sad about the Steelers losing Javon Hargrave. It's because, they tried to offer him as much as they could. But the Steelers basically had to make a choice. Who they're going to pay Hargrave or Tuitt. And they chose Tuitt, which was the right choice at the time. It's just then you had the family tragedy, knee, everything falling apart, and him stepping away from the game. But dude, he was really good. He was
Yeah.
too. It was so good along with Hayward and Hart. Oh, he was so good. And I'm not asking Derek Harmon to come in and be Stephon Tuitt this year.
No.
If he can get there within the first few years, then that's fantastic. Because
Remember, I know, but we're not. I'm not thinking he's going to come in as a rookie and be Stephon Tuitt in Stephon Tuitt's last year.
Yeah, you want him to be better than what Stephon Tuitt was his first year.
Exactly.
Yeah,
you're exactly right. What I think. And that's what I think
about it.
That's where I think that potential is. He has the potential to have a better rookie season than Stephon Tuitt did, and so that I'm thinking that 3 or 4 years down the line, he could potentially be a better player than Stephon Tuitt was at that time.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then that's a win.
Yeah, Marky D says it's so spot on. How many times have we thought about this? Imagine if we had Tuitt and Shazier.
Oh man.
Now and down here, Mr. Woodside. Whoop! I missed. I clicked the wrong one. Sorry. Although Matthew Mullaney, that was a good point you made, but that wasn't what I was trying to click. Mr. Woodside said Tuitt would be in his prime right now. I don't know if he'd have been in his prime right now, but he'd have been in his prime, right? As both him and Shazier drafted. They were drafted the same year, right? Weren't they? Weren't they 1-2 in this? I can tell you that real quick. I was thinking they were, but now I'm starting to second guess myself. That I have to go back and double check.
Circus.
Yes, it was. Yeah, Shazier and Tuitt 1 and 2 in 2014. Oh my goodness, and Martavis Bryant round 4. That draft is full of what could have been. I mean, wow. But Shazier and Tuitt, to me, they would have been hitting their prime right when the Steelers were transitioning from Ben Roethlisberger to a new quarterback, which would have been even more emphasis on the defense has to carry everything. Imagine that being those two guys added to that.
I know.
It's just what a yeah. Marky D's right. Shazier was fun to watch. It was just, yeah. But that's the violent game of football when it comes to Shazier. And unfortunately, that's some of the negativity with life when it comes to it. So, yeah, but you're exactly right. If you can get Derek Harmon, being a step above what Tuitt was as a rookie, that's what, I mean, my goodness, I expect Harmon to be above what Cam Hayward was as a rookie, just because. Hayward, they really eased him along, but think about the defensive line they had at the time too. So
yes.
It made sense. All right, I'm going to go ahead and give you my number 2. I have a feeling you're going to be surprised at my number 2 because it's going to tell you then what my number 1 was.
This is your number 2 man.
This is, yes.
His
Who does
name,
number 2 work for?
His name
is DK Metcalf.
There you go.
I have DK Metcalf at 2, which means I'll turn around and tell you why I have that, which changes by 1. Hey, Rich, you want to go and tell us what you have for number 1?
Sure. My number 1 would be wide receiver DK Metcalf.
Okay. I assumed when this fell out that this is how this was going. So let's just go ahead and both talk about Metcalf, and then I'll get on and tell you why I went with my number 1, which is a little bit outside of the box thinking. But yeah, DK Metcalf. Here's the reason DK Metcalf was 2 for me, and it really has nothing to do with DK Metcalf himself and more to do with what the Steelers did. When the Steelers chose to trade George Pickens, which I'm not saying is the wrong thing because he already seems like he's a little bit of a head case now, making up stories of stuff about, how things were. But when you bring in DK Metcalf to add to what the Steelers already had at wide receiver, you're talking about impact through the roof. Number 1, easy, hands down for me, no matter what. But when you trade George Pickens and you have yet to add anything else, it kind of diminishes how much Metcalf's impact on the Steelers. It's not going above and beyond what you already had. It's now a replacement and then has to be above that replacement. So, man, the Steelers would be screwed if they would have got rid of George Pickens and wouldn't have added DK Metcalf. My goodness. But he's going to make a huge impact in this offense. Go ahead. What else do you have to say? What do you want to say about it?
Well, I was thinking, his impact may have to / need to be even more with trading away George Pickens. Or could be even more because, it just, the way the room is right now, you're going to see a lot of balls go DK Metcalf's way.
Yeah.
With George Pickens here, he some of those would be headed Pickens' way.
You're also going to see an awful lot of coverage going DK Metcalf's way that might not have been able to go there otherwise if they wouldn't have done that. So,
which is why you're going to need to see some other guys kind of step up and make plays.
So if he's drawing more coverage, he could be making an impact by, well, first of all, let's say he actually runs his routes hard and everything when the ball's not coming to him. We know that was an issue to actually, when the defense could be like, wait, I'm shading towards Pickens. I don't have to anymore because he's just coming lazy off the line. It's going somewhere else. That's a bad thing. So it's going to impact that way. So hopefully it actually keeps coverage on him, which could open things up more for other people, which is a big impact. I agree.
I've said enough.
Yeah. Okay.
About Metcalf.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a whole lot.
I don't think there's a whole lot. So I'm going to
now.
recap.
I will.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. Say something.
No. Well, aren't you going to give your number one?
Yeah, I'm going to give my number one. So
okay, but hold on. Let me say one more thing about Metcalf. I will say this. He does have more pressure on him. Mm-hmm. Okay. One, because George Pickens is gone, but two, because the Steelers paid him.
Paid him a lot without ever playing here first. Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely.
All right.
So your top five went Robert Woods / Mason Rudolph at 5, Caleb Johnson at 4, Darius Slade 3, Derek Harmon 2, DK Metcalf 1. Mine went Caleb Johnson 5, Juan Thornhill 4, Derek Harmon 3, DK Metcalf 2, which obviously leaves me, shockingly, I've got Darius Slade at number 1.
Okay.
And there's a reason for this. So let me explain this. Derek Harmon is taking the place of Larry Ogunjobi. Okay? I want to see more than what we have from Larry Ogunjobi, and I think that he will. Okay? DK Metcalf now is taking the place of George Pickens. I want to see more than what we had from George Pickens, hopefully a lot more. Darius Slay is taking the place of Dante Jackson. This is a bigger upgrade than the other two, is why I put him at number 1. And people were missing it. They are thinking, they're so caught up on the fact that he's 34, he only signed a 1-year deal, things like that. I'm telling you, he was in the top, let's see, he was ranked 23rd by PFF in cornerbacks last year. All cornerbacks. Okay? Which is it the very top? No, but that's still really good. What I said about how one of the commenters at SteelCurveNetwork.com, make sure you check that out, said about, they really want to see Corey Trice, the other starter on the outside with Joey Porter Jr. I'm like, Corey Trice has appeared in 6 games. Darius Slay has 6 Pro Bowls.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you're like, and I think the biggest reason Steelers fans aren't buying into him is it is the Patrick Peterson effect. That's why. Oh, yeah. Mark Tobin even just said it. Mr. Slay could drop off any time. And you know what? That's exactly what people were saying about Cam Hayward last offseason. So I'm not going to assume the drop off. I'm not. Because it didn't happen with Cam. Now, could it happen? Yeah. Did it happen with Patrick Peterson? Yeah, it did. Okay. So, but also the reason that I say about having a bigger impact is Darius Slay is the leader in that room.
Yes.
So it's also having that impact. I'm going to throw this out there, and it doesn't. And it's funny because it's only going to be in the minds of fans or other people and stuff. Who's actually going to be the number one corner this year? Is it going to be Joey Porter Jr. or is it going to be Darius Slay? That's how much I think of Darius Slay. Now, I could come back and look like an absolute fool if things just fall apart with him this year, which is fine. But it's still not going to keep you from getting excited that I think the Steelers made a massive upgrade in the secondary. And that's where they needed the most help. They were ranked 23rd or 24th or something last year in pass defense? That's a big deal. That is a big deal. And that's why I think that is going to have more of an impact than the other two. That's why I bumped him up.
Look, I'm going to be honest with you. You know, he comes in, he bumps up. I don't put it to the point where I'm saying who's going to be the number one. I think Darius Slay came to Pittsburgh because he looked at Joey Porter and said, I don't have to be the guy.
Yeah.
I have to be the guy right behind him. And if that puts me on the other team's number 2 receiver, I'm better than any other team's number 2 receiver, which then as a team makes us really good.
Yeah, and think about what the Steelers had to do some last year. And I mean, it's not that they had to, but what they did at times. And it made sense, and it all really depended on the matchup. Who was a better matchup for Joey Porter Jr.? I mean, there were times where Joey Porter Jr., he was one-on-one with the other team's number 2 receiver, while Dante Jackson, with help, was on the number 1. So they were kind of doubling the number 1, and then Joey Porter just was supposed to take care of the number 2. And when they did that, there were plenty of games where that worked pretty good. I mean, not that great. They were still 24th, but to me, part of the reason you're that is because you had to play the number 1 passing offense twice, in the NFL. That's going to hurt you anyway. But now it's a whole notion of you don't have to guarantee that the help's coming to the other corner other than Joey Porter Jr. if Darius Slay just gives you what Darius Slay gave Philly last year.
Right.
Yeah. I think it frees up the secondary. And because then not only that, the opposition knows that they were going to get Dante Jackson with safety help and most likely Joey Porter Jr. by himself. You were getting that a lot, and you could bank on that. Now, I don't know what they're going to bank on. If Darius Slay just gives you what he gave in Philadelphia last year.
Right.
I mean, because I know PFF grades don't mean a lot. Joey Porter Jr. got dinged a lot last year on things. And people are like, oh, Joey Porter Jr. the penalties. The majority of these penalties, I think, came in, was it 3 or 4 games? There was a bunch of games that didn't have any. So it was various things. But Joey Porter Jr. was not ranked anywhere close to what Darius Slay was last year. Okay. Joey Porter Jr. was 98th, while Darius Slay was 23rd. So that's kind of what it was. Now, you do have to admit, I don't know if Darius Slay is going to give you what Dante Jackson got in interceptions last year, because he did have a lot of interceptions for the Steelers. But that was basically because of the help he was getting as well. So I think having both of those guys is going to make a huge impact. That's just me.
Very good.
Yeah. So
run down your 5 again. You ran down my 5.
So my 5 was, I did, and then I just said Darius. But yeah, it's Caleb Johnson, Juan Thornhill, Derek Harmon, DK Metcalf, and Darius Slay. Gotcha. All right. Okay. We've got to get to our 5 minutes. This is my 5 minutes this week. I don't think this is one that we've done before. I know I've done this with Jeff and Brian. I actually did it as a bracket. And maybe I did do it before. And if so, then I'm sorry. But it was when I was stuck in traffic and dropping off my son's friends, heard something on the radio. As I was flipping through stations trying to rush home, and it was theme from The Greatest American Hero.
Nice.
Was on the radio. And I just got to thinking once again, especially last week when we talked about, Norm and everything, and that is the greatest TV theme songs. Have we done that one before?
We have not.
Good. To me, they get busted into two categories: lyrics versus non-lyrics, lyrics versus an instrumental. But sometimes it's just throwing them out there as some of the ones that were really good.
Oh, I can tell you the one I think is number one, the best.
Okay.
Okay. My favorite
Okay.
TV show theme song is Welcome Back, Kotter.
Welcome back, Cotter.
Yep.
I knew that was going to be up there close. Welcome back, Cotter. theme
I
song.
love that
That's
song.
fantastic. Yep. Obviously one with lyrics. Okay. To
I
me,
have my, oh man. I have a 1 and a 1B, for
okay, what's
for
your 1B
non-
then? I mean,
No,
you can just
for
talk about
non-lyrics. For non-lyrics.
Oh, but see, to me, the non-lyric one, there's one that stands above everything else. I know maybe you could say like Sanford and Son is up there towards the top, but to me, number one by far is definitely "Suicide is Painless," which is the theme to MASH.
No.
Really, that's
Nope.
mine.
Nope.
Non-lyrics.
Non-lyrics. Number
Okay.
one. Partly because it is one of my all-time favorite shows. Would be Mason P.I. I mean, Magnum P.I.
Yeah. See, that was a little bit before my time. I don't remember that show.
Yeah, I can go.
couldn't tell you the theme song. I don't know the theme song.
Dun, 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 dun.
I remember now. Oh, that's all I needed, just a little bit of it. Some people are like, "Oh, we're getting some good ones in there." Okay, the Law and Order. You have to admit that was a really good theme song. When you hear that, you know what's coming.
Mr.
Okay,
Woodside. Nice.
Okay,
Nice. But my one
Yep.
my 1B for non-lyrics
yep,
is Hill Street Blues.
yeah, that was it. That was a good one. That really was. But it's just one of those things that you just hear it and you instantly know exactly what it is. Okay, how about Bosom Buddies for lyrics?
Well, you can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, you can't. Oh, that Bartow brought another good one in there, going way back. Okay, he said the Annie Griffith Show. Okay, that was good. Okay, some people put. I was wondering what Kathy was putting. Jen said autocorrect. The Mouseketeer song. I'm like, no. You have to admit another one of the best. It's out there. We shout out to Bad because this would be his number one. The number one. Thank you for being a friend. You can't knock that Golden Girls theme song.
Look, I'm going to give you another show with what I consider to be a very underrated theme song.
Okay.
Okay? Mr. Belvedere.
It was. You're right. Here's another very underrated one that Matthew Mullaney put out there.
Yep.
Night Court. That was a good theme song. And then, of course, Rob King's got to throw out there the infamous.
I mean,
Dukes of
you
Hazzard.
can't go wrong with Waylon Jennings.
No, you can't.
Just like with Bosom
sang the
Buddies.
song and narrated the show.
Just like with Bosom Buddies, you can't go wrong with Billy Joel. So, it's
Nope,
like.
sorry. But yeah, there's so many good theme songs. Like even more modern stuff. Like everyone can usually identify, the Big Bang Theory when it comes on with the Bare Naked Ladies theme song.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, there have been some really good ones through the years.
And I mean, whether you
Ooh.
like the show or not,
Ooh.
Friends
Good one,
theme song
Matthew.
was good.
Matthew Mulleney, Rockford Files.
Yeah.
Good one.
Yeah, and I mean, we already mentioned this before I brought it up, but Jamie Carlos says, yeah, for lyrics, cheers.
Cheers.
You can still recite that. And honestly, we're missing one of the best ones with lyrics. Okay? In West Philadelphia, born and raised.
Yes, and the playground is where I spent most of my days.
Yeah, I mean, Fresh Prince of Bel. Now, that was a longer song. Most
Yes.
people don't know the rest of the song.
No.
Yeah. So
Yes, it was
that
actually
a full song.
it was
that was only
full
part
song
of it. Was
released on an album.
yeah,
Yes.
which we had, right?
No.
I think it was yours, or was that the one I had? I had it on an
Yeah.
album.
I think it was. I think it was on your album.
Yeah.
Not mine.
Yeah. So,
So-
those are lots of good theme songs, and there we are at the end. But that's just
One
it's
last
just
one.
fun.
Private. Oh, two good ones. Chips in Hawaii 5-0. Yeah, that's some. That's just some good stuff, man.
Okay.
See, I love. Have you ever played those those games where it's like you get a little snippet of the TV show
Yeah.
theme song? And you have to
Oh, yeah,
know the show.
we've done that.
Love that.
Yep. After it even puts it out there, you got to remember Full House. Growing Pains.
Yep.
Family Matters. Perfect Strangers. A lot of those, but got to throw one last one out there. I know you would probably say if you had to go with a cartoon, you would probably go with Animaniacs. But to me, the most iconic theme song for a cartoon is DuckTales.
I thought you were going to say Scooby Doo for
Well,
iconic.
Scooby-Doo's up there too. No, DuckTales. I could sing the whole thing for you right now.
Another one cartoon wise that again I always feel was underrated was Hong Kong Phooey.
Yeah. I'm sorry. We could have done this one.
Yeah, we could have done this one separately.
This could
We
have
could have done cartoons separately.
Steelers talk. Yep. So all right. So there we go. We got to move on to it. It's time to get to that big question. The thing that's about tonight's big question is this. I got to type it in. We already know our answers. We're going to ask the question from the show of which new member of the Steelers in 2025 is going to make the biggest impact. And so, Rich, your number one was?
DK Metcalf.
And my number one, because, thinking outside the box a little bit, mine was Darius Slay. So I put it out there. It's out there for people to start answering now of who would their number one be, of who they think, which new member of the Steelers is going to make the biggest impact in 2025. Afton's up there first. She's got DK. Okay. Steel Dog 88, Caleb Johnson. Okay. Daredevil, Aaron Rodgers, which we didn't bring up there. Okay, and man, people are still bringing up good theme songs like Taxi and stuff. Okay, Mark Tobin, you lose a
Lose a point
because you spelled Caleb with it. It was probably autocorrect. It's with because you spelled it with a C, but still, Caleb Johnson, that's a good one. Jared Devil, he says Derek Harmon. Kathy Ford says Caleb Johnson. A lot of people, Caleb Johnson. I can see it. My thing is, I just don't know how early we'll see it. You know what I'm saying? Matthew Mullaney, he says Derek Harmon. Let's see. People are still doing TV show lyrics. Let's see. And Mr. Woodside, he says DK. So I'm okay that people are still putting. They might have preferred the big question to be the best.
Yeah, that would have been good.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's a fun topic. So, but hey, just want to let you know because it's very sporadic during the off season. So we find out from week to week. There will not be a Steel City Insider this week. So, but hopefully that'll be back the next week.
Rob King says DK.
Said DK as well.
Yep.
Other than that, we have our regular schedule coming at you with our podcasts. Next week is mandatory minicamp. We'll continue to roll through there, and then we'll hit that dead part of summer. Yeah.
Blue Nose Steel said Mason Rudolph, kidding, but pointing out he's new technically. Actually, he was on my list.
He was on his list. He was.
Because he is new.
And if we were doing this list the night before training camp, I think he would either be nowhere on the list and a different player of that position would be there,
Yep.
or he would be high on that list.
Yes.
So that's what's going on. So yes. So other than that, we as I was saying, we're going to have our regular lineup coming at you. Hey, if anybody has an unpopular opinion you'd like to throw my way for shows, although I got another good one from Brian. Actually, I got two more good ones from Brian Anthony Davis that I can do. But I'm always looking for some help with those. Well, make sure you check out SteelCurtainNetwork.com. I was back with another tracker today. Now, you get a few less videos every day as it goes on. There's still plenty of information, but just not nearly as much as there was day one last week. But it'll probably pop back up a little bit more in intensity when it comes to next week's mandatory minicamp with those. Make sure you're checking that out. Lots of good stuff. KT Smith's doing a great series right now of breaking down different types of plays that should be important with the Steelers arsenal this year. Really good stuff there. So make sure you're checking that out. Let's see. We got everyone's choice in there at the end. So Rich, what do you have to say to close us out here tonight?
Hey, it's been football in shorts, but again, like I said last week, I'm going to take football in shorts over what we had prior to that all day long. Looking forward next week to mandatory part of minicamp, just to make sure everybody's in the building. And you tend to just hear a little more during that point in time. I don't know like I said, I don't know if the Steelers do stuff a ton different, but for some reason it's almost like the reporters are asking different types of questions in that mandatory part than they are this week. So
sorry, we got one more. Jamie Carlos and Caleb Johnson.
Gotcha. So, looking forward into rolling next week, seeing how that goes. And we're going to come back with another top 5 list. We're sitting here saying top 5 list. Dave, we're into June.
Yeah.
And you know what happens in the month of July?
Training camp.
Training camp happens by July. So, it is going to be here before we know it. Can't wait.
You gotta just chill out, man.
Can't wait.